Vincent Kennedy is a director of software engineering at SITA with a focus on product development for the SITA at Borders portfolio. In addition to this, he's also location lead for SITA Letterkenny, based in the northwest of Ireland, where SITA currently have approximately 120 employees. He joined in 2003 as project manager, and since then has served in many different roles, both in Ireland and the UK. That's almost 20 years in the same company, Vincent. It must be some company.
Yeah, it's SITA's got a knack of doing that. Once they get you in, they don't let you go. So
well, that's great.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign.
It really is. It really is. So look, I'm going to hand over to you. You've got 20-25 minutes to chat, and then we'll have a couple of minutes for questions at the end. And as I've been saying to people during the day, do pop your questions in the little chat function, even while Vincent is speaking, and we'll be able to ask him the questions later. So Vincent, I'm handing the reins over to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Ruth. And thank you to Aisling for some very good tips, not just for those going for interview, but also for those presenting. So I'm trying to get set up straight in my chair and everything and get it all right. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully I have no technical glitches, so just bear with me while I share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
I can, yeah, I can see it, yeah.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Careers Expo. As Ruth said, my name is Vincent Kennedy, and I'm Director of Product Development at SITA. So obviously, SITA is not going to be familiar to everyone. Some of you may have heard of SITA, some of you may be hearing about SITA for the first time. So let me give you a quick introduction to SITA. SITA was an organization that was established many years ago, back in 1949, by about 11 airlines. And the goal of the 11 airlines was to set up an organization that would allow them communicate, share data and communicate. Since then, SITA has grown. It's got more than 400 members now. It's an organization that is still very much owned by the air travel industry, and our sole purpose is to deliver IT solutions and communications to the air travel industry. So you might ask, what's important about that? So let me just explain a little bit about today's world. So in today's world, airports and airlines, they're really facing uncharted territory. If we go back 18 months ago, there was huge numbers of people traveling all over the world, and even at that, airlines and airports were facing. Well, they were really facing a challenge. How do they accommodate this additional capacity, but yet their airports aren't going to double in size? There's a limit to how many flights you can put on. So how do they manage that? And the way they manage that is they need smart solutions, smart technology solutions that are going to solve those problems, that are going to make them more efficient and more effective in a world where more people are traveling. Fast forward a couple of months, and then we're into the COVID scenario where airlines and airports have been really impacted because, yes, no one's traveling. Few people are traveling, and traveling is certainly taken a decline. But those airports and airlines still face the same problems. They need to be more efficient. They need to look at cost-effective solutions. They need to look to technology to be smarter, to enable them to be more effective. So as the airlines and airports, and let's face it, the travel industry will come back. The travel industry, people will always travel. There will always be a need and a desire to travel. So the travel industry will come back, and hopefully not in the too distant future. And we're actually seeing great trends of the domestic travel really growing and coming back to the numbers that we would have seen post-COVID. But airlines and airports need to have efficient, smart solutions to help them in that recovery and help them survive as they prepare for, let's say, the recovery of the industry. Travelers want solutions that are fast with no queuing. Years ago, people would be happy to stand in a queue because they were going on holidays, because you know what, that was the biggest thing they were going to do that day. Now travel has become, it's just become something we do to get from A to B, and people have an expectation that travel will be smooth and efficient. And being involved in industry and being involved with SITA for many years, I couldn't begin to explain this 25-minute presentation how many things have to be right for an aircraft to take off in time. How many things have to be exact, how many different entities have to work closely together, collaborate to ensure that an aircraft leaves in time, let alone the likes of out of Heathrow, an aircraft every 1 minute leaves Heathrow. So the solutions and the technology that's involved to make that, let's say, that system work as efficiently as it does is phenomenal. But there's an expectation in travelers, because if we have a flight that's delayed for 10, 15 minutes, we get frustrated. We're wondering what's wrong with the airline, and it's typical, it's this airline or it's that airline, and we had the problem before. The reality is we have an expectation now in travel that we don't have the queue, that things should happen fast, and that things should work around us. We're in an era of where health is of utmost importance, and as the travel industry starts to recover, people are going to want to ensure that it's safe to travel. People want to know that if I go to the airport and if I fly with an airline, if I fly to an airport, then and I arrive at a particular location, that it's safe for me to do so. Airports are not going to want people that are carrying the risk of COVID come to the airport. So airports are going to want to make sure that those the people traveling through the airports and the people traveling in the airlines are, again, fit to travel and not posing a risk in terms of health. But also governments. We see it in our own country and we see it in all other countries. Governments are looking to ensure that only low-risk people are coming into the country. So governments want to ensure that when people are traveling, they're fit to travel and that they're not posing a risk to the health of the country that they're arriving to. So again, this is a big change in dynamic that we have come into in the last 18 months around travel, is the health of people to travel. Security. Again, we can focus on health and we can focus on the how fit are people to travel and from a health perspective, but the security threats, the threat of terrorism, the threat of the wrong people coming into the country, that still exists. So governments still need to have their borders secure and make sure that's efficient, because as people come into the country, if you're a visitor visiting a country and there's tailbacks in terms of border control and getting processed so you can enter the country, it gives you a bad impression. It's a bad first impression of the country that you're arriving at. So governments want to ensure that the controls that they have at the border are first and foremost secure, but also very efficient and effective for the volume of passengers that have come in through. And finally, as passengers, we have so much available to us in terms of social media, the ability to get information and demand real-time information. This has become an expectation. This has become part of our life. So why should we have to wait on an airline to update us on an information on a flight information display? We should be able to get it at our fingertips, on our phone, on whatever mobile devices we carry. So the dynamic of today's world has very much has shaped how travel will be in the future, and is how we're moving towards travel at the moment, and that's all around expectation of us, the travelers, but also expectations of what we expect from an airport, what we expect from an airline, and also what we expect from a country as we enter its borders. And this is the part SITA plays. SITA is driving the future of the air travel. As I said, we've been in the industry for a long time. We're the world's leading provider of IT and telecommunications to the air transport industry. We are. I'll just go on to the next slide, because we are started out in 1949 as 11 airlines set SITA up. So back then it was set up for the industry. 70 plus years on, we're still 100% owned and driven and dedicated to the air travel industry, with over 400 members. Our members range from airlines, airports, ground handlers, etc. And that also is the shape of our customer base as well. We have close to 3,000 customers worldwide, and as I said, they vary from airlines, airports, ground handlers, any of the entities that collaborate to help the air travel industry. We're very much a trusted partner to those entities. We have a presence in over 1,000 airports worldwide. You know, it's really unlikely to the airport and not see or interact with SITA technology. I think, you know, almost every single passenger flight that takes off anywhere in the world relies somewhere along the way on SITA technology. And there you can see in the multitude of small pictures there's just, you know, an idea of the places where you might see SITA technology throughout airports, you know, be it from when you're checking in for a flight, the check-in kiosks, the check-in desks, whether it is going through security, bag drop, dropping your bag, and the automated systems for bag drop, going through security, even looking it up at the flight information displays. When you think about the operation of an airport, how does an airport operate? How do they know where a flight should land, what lane an aircraft should come in on, what gate the aircraft should pull up on? Again, the efficiency of cleaning an aircraft and getting people to the gate on time, getting that aircraft away on time. Because the reality is, an aircraft is not making money while it's parked on tarmac. An aircraft is only making money, an airline is only making money when the aircraft is in the sky. So the efficiency of making sure that that aircraft gets in and leaves on time without compromising security, without compromising the passenger experience. These are all the systems that SITA has in the airport to enable that. And then obviously border control is a key piece of the solutions that we deliver. We have solutions with 60 or more than 60 governments worldwide, and that's enabling them to control their borders at the airport and making sure that only the right people and the wanted people are allowed to cross borders or leave countries. So that's where you'll see SITA technology, and as I said, being the technology provider for their industry, technology is going to be the key component that is going to lift the air travel industry out of the COVID era and the travel for the future. I'm just moving on to the next slide. So where are we based? Let me just, sorry, go back. So I'm based out of our Letterkenny office, which Ruth said, northwest of Donegal. A little bit of our history. We started out in Letterkenny as a small travel technology company located in Letterkenny, but then we were acquired by SITA in August 2003, and we've been basically growing since then. We, you know, at the time of the acquisition from SITA, we were at 22 employees, and we're now close to 140 employees today. Why are we located in Letterkenny? We're located in Letterkenny because, one, apart from it being a beautiful area, we're also there because it allows us take advantage of the IT talent pool that's in that catchment area. You know, there's a lot of really good IT and technology universities in the region, and again, we're not competing with the likes of the big cities like Dublin and Galway and Cork for the talent. So that was the reason behind our location in Letterkenny. We're very much supported by the Irish government through the IDA, and we've recently, you know, well, in 2015, moved to a brand new state-of-the-art building that's really set up to allow our teams flourish. We're very much an agile organization working in DevOps, and our environment and our buildings are really set up to allow us perform in that way. We primarily specialize in software in our Letterkenny location. We primarily specialize in software design, development, and testing. So basically understanding the requirements that are coming from, whether it is an airline or an airport or whatever, government or whatever, whoever our customer be, understanding their requirements, helping them design their solutions, helping them solve the problems that they face, and then developing the technology that will solve those problems. And then the final piece is obviously delivering that technology, deploying it in airports, and seeing it then and making sure that it's operated and operated efficiently. One of the advantages of working for SITA that I've personally experienced is it's such, and Ruth mentioned earlier about being there for 20 years. It's a company that really there is never, ever a dull moment. It's a really exciting organization to work with, and hence why I've stayed for so long. I've been lucky enough to have the opportunity to travel to places of the world that I never thought I would see, simply because we've got customers in places of the world that I never thought we would see. So that opportunity to travel, that opportunity to visit new places and work with people of different cultures has been one of the attractions that has kept me at SITA for so long. The other aspect I would like to highlight is and working in Letterkenny. I've had many conversations with people about what has Letterkenny, what has Donegal to offer, a global technology company like SITA. And the reality is, for me, and I probably come at it from a biased perspective because I'm originally from the area, but the quality of life that enables me, so working for a global organization, but yet being able to stay and experience a quality of life that for me is second to none. It's not just the attraction of the northwest of Ireland and the beaches and the hills, etc. But it's also the cost of living. You can purchase a house in a 4-bedroom house on an acre of land in Donegal for the same price as you could purchase a 1-bedroom apartment in a major city. Likewise, in terms of renting accommodation, you can, and I've experienced this myself. You can rent again a beautiful house on an acre of land by the water, for a quarter of the price you could rent in some of the major cities. So it's the quality and cost of living and the quality of life that I can experience in Letterkenny and Donegal that is a major attraction for me to stay there. A little more about SITA. Obviously, being in the industry for a long time, we've built up a wealth of experience. So in Letterkenny alone, we have over 1,000 years experience in the ATI industry. So it's an area where if anyone and any of our new people to come in the door, they really avail of that. They avail of having the ability to work with people that have worked in the industry for a long time and are willing to share that expertise. We have a very positive, energetic culture. Our workforce is in Letterkenny is quite a young workforce, based on because of our collaboration with the local universities and the local IT institutes. We have a very let's say a thriving graduate program. We bring in a number of graduates every year, and then they work their way into full-time positions. And I'm delighted, to say that after so many years of that graduate program, some of our top engineers and some of our top professionals today have come through our graduate program. So we have that a very positive, energetic culture within the organization. Our values are simple, and like the first one, the SITA values is about keeping it simple. We simplify. We do things easy. We don't make things complicated. We're there to share our expertise with the industry and to keep things simple for our providers. Because let's face it, when you think of who is our real end customer, our end customer is the passenger, the traveler that's traveling, and traveling can be a frustration. Traveling can be let's say an intimidating experience for a lot of people. And through the use of technology, we aim to make it simple and keep it simple for the traveler and keep it simple for the airline and the airport. We're very much about doing it together, collaborating and helping each other. We're very focused on being our best in terms of the organization has invested heavily in helping people to continue to learn, continue to grow. It doesn't matter how long you're in the organization. Every day should be like a school day. So the organization has invested heavily in terms of helping people to continue to be their best. And the last one there, but certainly by no means the least, it's stepping up for the customer. We serve the industry. We're owned by the industry. We serve the industry. So our job is very much customer centric in terms of making sure that the airlines and the airports and the governments that we serve are getting the best service that they can possibly get. And Letterkenny, I'm delighted that even though we've only been part of SITA since 2003, our Letterkenny location now is a key location for some of our most critical products and solutions. And we have a very, very high-performing team there in Letterkenny that are contributing and enhancedly to those products that SITA deploy. finally, my last slide is, to any of you that's tuned in and thinking about a change of career, thinking about a career in SITA, or passionate about their travel industry. We recently announced a new 50 2021 and 2022 in SITA and Letterkenny. These jobs range from product owners, scrum masters, lead engineers, software engineers, solution testers, UX designers. The jobs range over a wide spectrum. So if your skill set fits any of those roles, we'd be delighted to hear from you. You can visit us at the careers address that you see at the bottom of the slide, or speak to David, who's in the SITA booth, the SITA virtual booth. I add. But just some other comments about our Letterkenny location. As I said, 55% of our staff are millennials. We have quite a young, dynamic workforce. Last year, on the Forbes list of best employers, SITA was listed 24th in terms of the world's best employers in the world. And another stat that I like to accompany with that, it was number 7 in terms of IT and internet solution providers. So yes, a really good organization to work for. I've been here for almost 20 years. I've been in SITA for almost 20 years, and I could be for another 20 more if they'll keep me. The other points here I mentioned is the organization is very focused on continuous learning and career progression. So regardless of what level you come in, as I said, the organization has invested heavily in making sure that people continue to grow, not just as you start up your career in SITA, but regardless of the length of your career, you should continue to grow every day. So that's it from me. Ruth, I'm happy to take any questions or any comments that people may have. Ruth, can you still hear me, or am I still on?
Hi, Vincent, and thank you so much for that.
I hope I had no technical glitches and you could see the slides and
no,
everything.
you had none.
Good.
None. My apologies for switching myself on a bit slower here. I was loving you. You were really selling Letterkenny to me, and I have to say, you were very polite in saying that you could get more bang for your buck in terms of getting yourself a nice place to live beside the lake, the water, yeah. So
yeah, no,
really well.
no, it's a point, and obviously I come from a biased perspective because I'm from the region, but the quality of life that you can have, it's in terms of commuting and and lifestyle, it's it's good.
And I think so many people, not everybody obviously, but I think so many people maybe living in a very dense urban area have realized that a commute is not something that they want to have to do for forever and ever and ever. And so where there are options for good employment in an area where you may not have to commute so long, then why not take the leap?
Yeah, and absolutely, and as most people around the country are working remotely at the moment, and that's a dynamic we get used to. I'm not saying I do see that people will go back to the office. I don't see remote working being a fixed long-term thing. I think people will start to move back. But what I do think people will struggle to get back to is that long commute again. Once you have experienced not doing the commute, is getting back to that commute. And I think that's certainly something that people will probably consider.
Do you think that's somebody ringing you now saying, you're on the telly, Vincent? Do you think, will some employers feel that they need to offer a hybrid of remote working and coming into the office? Because, I was speaking to someone I know who runs a business. They're all now, like many places, working from home. And he said if I was to try and get them all back into the office, they'd leave. And I suppose something we've heard talked about over the course of today, and I suppose over the last maybe 8 to 10 months, is that people are changing careers, and maybe they don't need too much of a push in order for them to make the change.
You're absolutely right, and what it comes down to is what everyone expects is flexibility, same as employers expect, and employees will expect the same as flexibility. And when I look at what not just us and SITA, but other organizations, I think organizations are realizing that, and that flexibility is going to be needed, and it'll work to a hybrid approach. I don't see anyone giving up real estate, and I don't think we're going to be in an era where it's going to be full remote working, because that does stifle some of the innovation and the collaboration that is necessary in certainly in our domain. So what in SITA, what we're doing is we're working to a hybrid model. When we do get back into the office, we're going to be looking at people coming into the office perhaps 3 days a week, and then you can work from home 2 days a week. And as long as you're collaborating with your team in those 3 days, then that meets the requirements. But the one thing that the pandemic has taught us all is people can work from home, and organizations are going to realize that. So I think the hybrid approach will be what most organizations will adopt.
Yeah, because anecdotally I've heard, and I don't know if you've come across this, that if an employer is in a situation where, let's say before the pandemic ever happened, where an employer might have been asked about an opportunity to work from home, they would have said, no, I don't trust that person to work from home. If you don't trust them to work from home, should you trust them to work in the office? It needs trust the whole way through the transaction, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. And that's what it's all based on. It's based on trust, because the reality is, if you're going to get the best out of any individual or any employee, it's got to be the relationship's got to be based on trust. Because as soon as you don't trust them, you put boundaries around them and you put constraints around them, and they're not going to flourish, they're not going to grow. So the relationships have to be based on trust. And you make a very good point there. If employers think that employees will be skiving at home, they'll still skive in the office. I mean, they'll still hide in the office. So it's about trust, and flexibility for me is the key thing for both employers and employees.
So 2 things I want to ask you before we wrap up. Firstly, just remind us again how people can maybe get in contact with you directly, find out more.
Well, I had on the last slide our website and our careers address, but we also have a booth there where David is present. David's from our talent acquisition, and David's at our booth. So he's there to take any questions, any comments, or any queries that people may have that want to follow up or get more information on SITA. But also, if anyone wants to speak to me specifically, David can pass on my details.
Okay. And the other thing I want to ask is, with your lovely tales of lovely life in Letterkenny, have you some lovely plans to go out on the water this evening? Is this it? You don't have the big commute, so you can be out on the water or out in the countryside before you know it when you're finished work?
I have every plan to go for a go on the beach for a walk, because it's absolutely beautiful here today. So I'm about 10 minutes walk from the beach. So I'll take my kids, and we're going to go walk on the beach and pick pebbles.
10 minutes walk from the beach. That sounds absolutely idyllic and glorious. Just the thing you need after a hard day's work.
Exactly.
Listen, it was lovely to get to talk to you today. Thank you for giving of your time, for talking so freely, and for making yourselves available in the virtual booth as well. Vincent Kennedy from SITA, it was a real pleasure to get to listen to you speak, and to be slightly jealous of your post-work trip to the beach. Go on.
Ruth, thank you very much. Thank you.
Lovely to talk to you, Vincent. All the best.